Welcome back. In this video, I'm going to be making a DIY half pipe using a 46 bag Takis box as well as a couple of Lucky Charms cereal boxes. I got really inspired to make this after checking out the Black River website, and ever since I put my hands on a tech deck, I can remember that it has been one of my dreams to own a half pipe that is wooden for tech decks or fingerboards. And Black River has this really cool Black River Pocket Mini, perfect size. It reminds me of a shrunken down half pipe, almost like a backyard half pipe. And I clicked on the VAT or the shipping fees and it didn't even load. I do remember it is kind of expensive, so I'll definitely be checking out some local places for these, but these are really nice quality. And I love the way they even look with the grain going sideways and how they have the different planks of wood. They even had a bigger one on their website with the brick for coping, kind of like an old school look. And then the Black River Spine, the mini dose. This thing is a beast, it looks massive. Got the double half pipe as well as the different raised elevations and the spine. This thing looks like it would take up my whole table and then some. Headed over to Slush Culp's website. They carry a bunch of really cool fingerboarding stuff and they actually carry the Pocket Mini. However, when I clicked on it, they were actually out of stock. So I decided I would make one with some cardboard boxes that I had lying around.
Okay.
I got started by cutting out the sides of the box. And I cut out the side of the profile of the ramp. However, when I did this, it made the bottom of the box really flimsy. To fix this, I'm going to glue down the bottom, and I'm using some hot glue. Once I had the bottom piece in, I also added another piece of cardboard from another box, cut out about the same size as the bottom, and just glued it in place as well. This should really help reinforce the bottom and make everything a lot more solid. Once I had the bottom piece in place, I used the side piece that I had cut out as a template. And this is what I'm going to use to make the pieces that are going to be like the supports for the half pipe. This is what's going to go under the actual ramp. But I'm cutting this out to match to the side of the half pipe. Once I had this one cut down to match the side profile a little bit better, I use it as a template. And I made a bunch of these. Probably went a little overboard. I ended up doing 14 of them. However, if you plan on making a half pipe about this size, you only really need about 8 or 10 supports.
A few moments later.
Once I had all the supports cut out and trimmed down to the same size, I went ahead and glued them in place. And this was one of the first times I was using a hot glue gun. I definitely used a bit too much glue. And I found that little dots on the edge works a lot better than the big globs on the side like I was using. However, this one support is definitely in place pretty good. And I definitely went a little bit overboard on all the supports. That being said, after having it all together, it is very solid. And I'm just adding another piece of cardboard in the center. This will give it a little bit more support, but it's also going to make it so the bottom kind of lines up a little bit better with the supports. And then when I put the ramp on there, everything will glue down a lot easier. Just putting a little bit of hot glue on the top piece for the sides. And then I'm going to use scissors and a ruler to score the back piece. This will make it fold a lot easier. And I'm going to put some hot glue down and then just fold it down. With the back glued in place, I'm just going to trim down the excess. And then using a Lucky Charms cereal box, I'm going to cut out the front and back of this to use for the ramp. And this material is really good for the ramp part just because it bends a lot easier and it also doesn't crease as easy as the thicker cardboard does. And I'm just using a bit of hot glue on the top of the supports as well as in the middle and the bottom of the supports as well. And I found that this glue has about 30 to 45 seconds of working time. So from the time of putting on the first little glob, I went ahead and made sure I got it on there fast enough so it didn't dry. And and I just held it in place. And once I had the top part in place, I came back with some more glue on the bottom part and glued that in place. And with one half on, I'm just going to do the same with the other side. With the ramp in place, I'm going to add the coping, and I'm just using some aluminum knitting needles that I got at Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to add them onto the corners of each of the ramps using a bead of hot glue. And then I came back with a little bit more hot glue just to make sure that there was almost like a seam. This will make sure that everything stays in place. And I was careful not to add too much glue just because when doing grinds and everything, I don't want the wheels or trucks to get caught on anything. I repeated this process on the other side of the coping, and using the tip of the hot glue gun, smoothed everything out. And then using the extra piece from the sewing needle, I scraped off any of the extra. Then I went ahead and tested it out.
Hey, that's pretty good.
At this point, I would definitely consider the half pipe complete. However, I decided to add a second layer of cardboard to the ramp. The second layer of cardboard is definitely not needed, but it will make everything a lot more secure and solid. And I'm also going to be making a design using the cardboard in kind of a design similar to the Black River Pocket Mini Ramp. Using a 3x5 card, I'm just going to make a bunch of 3x5 size little panels. Since I want all the pieces to fit close to each other, I'm going to use a straight edge to make sure that everything is straight and square. And once I had all the pieces cut out, I laid it out just to make sure everything fit nicely. And then starting in the center piece, I glued it down. And once I had that piece in place, I worked my way out. And once I had the center pieces down, I worked my way up the ramp. And these pieces going up the ramp were definitely the hardest to get on just because they have to bend a lot. But I got the bottom piece in place, and once I got that in place, I pressed it down and then worked my way up the ramp and found this worked pretty well. For the final row, I cut the pieces to fit right underneath the coping, and then I glued them in place. And a pro tip is definitely use less glue is better. I used a little bit too much glue here, and I put my finger just barely in the hot glue. And another pro tip is if you do get some on you, to wipe it off as fast as you can, because the hot glue does stay hot for a while and it'll burn even worse if you leave it on. Once I got all the pieces in place, I cut off the extra using a utility knife. I also went around and cleaned up the edges, and I cut off any extra glue or pieces that were sticking out. Now that I have everything cleaned up, all that's left to do is try out the half pipe. Overall, I am really happy with the results. I'm surprised I was able to make a half pipe that works, let alone as well as it does. And my only concern is that it might not be as durable as the wood would be. But that being said, everything feels super smooth and solid so far, and I'll provide some updates as I go. In my opinion, this DIY was definitely worth trying, and it took me about 2.5 hours to complete. However, I could have saved probably about 45 minutes if I would have made the ramp part or the ramp design a little bit more simpler, or even if I would have just done 2 pieces of cardboard rather than all the different plies. That being said, I actually am really happy that I went with the design because it looks pretty cool, and it also has a really unique feel to it, almost like a real ramp rolling over the different plies of wood.
That was legitness. Yeah, it was, huh?
Okay. I personally really like the size of this ramp. It is about 1 inch bigger on all sides from the Pocket Mini from Black River. And that being said, it is perfect for fingerboarding and tech decking in my opinion. However, for the Sheckler figure, it is a little bit on the bigger side. It's also a little bit steep for him as well. And I went with a pretty steep as far as the side goes, But overall, I really like it, and I think it's good for doing some tricks off the side. With the Sheckler, it just makes it a little bit more challenging, and I think the Pocket Mini would actually be perfect size for him. But that being said, I really like this overall. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I hope you liked this video. If you did, make sure to hit the thumbs up as well as subscribe and turn on post notifications for when I post my next video. Let me know in the comments what other videos you want to see. The next longer video coming out will be all of your DIY fingerboard obstacle submissions. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, peace.